Be honest. That sound just unlocked a core memory, didn't it? Maybe it reminds you of playing Pinball Space Cadet when you should have been doing homework. Or maybe it reminds you of the sheer panic of trying to close a pop-up window before your parents walked in. Windows. It's the operating system we love, and the one we love to hate. It runs on over 70% of the world's computers. It sent humans to space, it powers ATMs, and it's probably the reason you've punched a monitor at least once in your life. But here's the crazy part. Windows wasn't always the giant it is today. It started as a glitchy, ugly mess that nobody wanted. It survived lawsuits, disastrous launches, and Steve Ballmer screaming, "Developers," until he almost passed out. Today, we are breaking down the entire history of Windows. From the floppy disks of 1985 to the AI-powered future of Windows 12, we will figure out why every second version seems to suck, and whether your PC is actually ready for what comes next. Buckle up, we have got 40 years of crashes, updates, and start buttons to cover. Let's rewind to the early 1980s. Back then, computers didn't have mice. They didn't have windows. They had a blinking cursor on a black screen. If you wanted to open a file, you didn't click an icon. You had to type commands like a hacker in a bad action movie. Then, in November 1985, Bill Gates released Windows 1.0. But here's the secret. It wasn't really an operating system. It was just a shell. Think of it like putting a Ferrari body kit on a rusty tractor. Underneath the paint, it was still MS-DOS chugging along. Windows 1.0 was rough. You couldn't even overlap windows. They had to sit next to each other like tiles in a bathroom. If you tried to stack them, nope. System says no. But it had one killer app, a game called Reversi. Microsoft didn't include it because it was fun. They included it to teach people how to use a mouse. Seriously. People didn't know how to click and drag, so Bill Gates gamified it. 2 years later, we got Windows 2.0. The big upgrade? You could finally overlap windows. That's it. That was the revolution. Oh, and they added Excel and Word. This is the moment Apple got mad and sued Microsoft for stealing the look and feel. Spoiler alert, Apple lost. But the real game changer was Windows 3.0 and 3.1 in the early 90s. This is when Windows went from useless toy to actually useful. It introduced true type fonts, better colors, and the most addictive productivity killer in history, Solitaire. Solitaire wasn't just a game, it was a stealth training program to teach you the drag and drop mechanic. Millions of office workers suddenly became experts at mouse control while pretending to work. Windows 3.1 sold millions. It was a hit, but it was still just a mask over DOS. To become a legend, Windows needed to kill DOS. 1995, the year everything changed. Microsoft launched Windows 95, and the hype was insane. People camped outside stores like it was a new iPhone launch. They paid the Rolling Stones millions of dollars to use the song Start Me Up. Why? Because of the Start button. Before this, finding a program was like looking for your keys in the dark. Windows 95 gave us the taskbar, the Start menu, and the concept of plug and play. Well, we called it plug and pray because half the time it didn't work, but when it did, magic. It was the first OS that felt modern. It looked clean, it felt snappy, and it introduced the Internet Explorer icon, which we all used exactly once, to download Netscape Navigator. Then came Windows 98. It was basically Windows 95 on steroids. Better internet support, support for DVDs, and USBs. But it is mostly famous for one specific moment. Bill Gates, live on stage, demonstrating USB support. And bam, blue screen of death. The look on his face? Priceless. Even the richest man in the world couldn't stop Windows from crashing. But Windows 98 2nd Edition actually turned out to be solid. It was the gamer's choice. It ran Half-Life, StarCraft, Age of Empires. It was the golden age of PC gaming. And then, we hit the first major pothole. Windows Me, the Millennium Edition, or as the internet calls it, Mistake Edition. If Windows 98 was a reliable Honda Civic, Windows Me was a clown car with square wheels. It leaked memory like a sieve. You would boot it up, move the mouse, and it would crash. It was only on the market for about a year before Microsoft practically buried it in the desert. We needed a hero. We needed stability. 2001. Enter the king. Windows XP. Look at that wallpaper. It's the most viewed photograph in human history. Windows XP was built on the NT kernel, basically the industrial-grade engine Microsoft used for servers, but painted with a bright, friendly Fisher-Price interface. It was stable, it was fast, it didn't crash every time you looked at it wrong. XP was so good that people refused to leave it. Even 10 years later, businesses, ATMs, and the US Navy were still running XP. It was the Nokia 3310 of operating systems. Indestructible. But Microsoft got cocky. They spent 5 years developing the successor. They promised a revolution. They gave us Windows Vista. Vista looked beautiful. It had this aero glass effect, transparent windows, fancy 3D flipping. But it was heavy. XP ran on 64 megabytes of RAM. Vista demanded a gigabyte just to boot up and not die. And the security, oh my god, the security. User account control. You clicked a folder. Are you sure? Are you really sure? Permit access? It treated every user like a toddler who was about to delete the internet. Vista was the Cyberpunk 2077 launch of operating systems. Overpromised, underdelivered, and buggy as hell. Microsoft panicked. They needed to fix this, and fast. In 2009, Windows 7 arrived, and honestly, it was just Vista with the suck removed. They optimized the code, toned down the annoying pop-ups, and polished the interface. Windows 7 is widely considered the perfect Windows. It didn't try to change the world, it just worked. It was the apology letter Microsoft wrote to us after the trauma of Vista. Baby, I'm sorry, I've changed. And we took them back. But Microsoft, they just couldn't sit still. The iPad had just come out. Tablets were the future. So Microsoft thought, hey, let's turn everyone's desktop computer into a giant tablet. Windows 8 removed the start button. Let me repeat that. They removed the start button. The one thing that defined Windows for 17 years. Gone. Instead, we got the Metro UI. Huge colorful tiles designed for touchscreens. The problem? 99% of us were using a mouse and keyboard. It was like forcing a car driver to steer using a PlayStation controller. It was awkward, unintuitive, and confusing. You had to hover your mouse in the corner just to find the shutdown button. Grandmas everywhere were crying. IT support lines were melting down. They tried to fix it with Windows 8.1, adding a fake start button back, but the damage was done. Microsoft had an identity crisis. They forgot who their users were. So, they skipped Windows 9 entirely. Because 789? No, probably because of some legacy code issues with Windows 95 and 98 file names. In 2015, we got Windows 10, and Microsoft made a bold claim. They said, Windows 10 is the last version of Windows. So that was a lie. The idea was Windows as a service. No more big releases, just constant updates forever. And for a while, it worked. Windows 10 brought back the Start menu, integrated Cortana, which nobody used, and focused on gaming with DirectX 12. But it also introduced something else, forced updates. You're in the middle of a ranked match? Update time. You're rendering a video? Update time. Windows 10 didn't ask for permission. It took it. It also started collecting a lot more data about you. Then, in 2021, the last version promise was broken. Windows 11 dropped. Why? Because Microsoft needed to sell new PCs. Windows 11 is fine. It looks like a Mac. They moved the start button to the center. You can move it back, don't worry. It has rounded corners. It's pretty. But the controversy was the hardware requirements. TPM 2.0. Suddenly, millions of perfectly good, powerful computers were told, sorry, you can't run Windows 11. It felt like a cash grab. And now, they are starting to put ads in the start menu. Yes, ads in the operating system you paid for. So, where do we go from here? Windows 10 support ends in October 2025. That means millions of PCs will become electronic waste overnight. Rumors about Windows 12 are already flying. The code name is Next Valley, and the focus? You guessed it, artificial intelligence. Imagine a Windows that knows what you want before you click. A Windows that writes your emails, organizes your files, and watches everything you do to serve you better ads. There are even rumors that Windows might become a subscription service. Imagine paying a monthly fee just to boot up your computer. Terrifying, right? From the tiled mess of 1.0, to the golden age of XP, to the identity crisis of 8, and the AI future of 12, Windows is a reflection of the tech world. It's messy, it's frustrating, but it's also the tool that built the modern internet. We complain about it, we mock the updates, but we keep using it. Because at the end of the day, despite the crashes and the blue screens, it gets the work done. Usually. So, be honest in the comments. Which Windows was your first? Are you Team XP or Team 7? Or are you one of the 3 people who actually liked Windows 8? I read all the comments, so let me know. And hey, if your Windows is running slow, it might not be the software. It might be your drive. If you're still using a spinning hard drive in 2025, you are hurting yourself. I've linked the best NVMe and SATA STEs in the description to speed up your rig. Next up, click right here to understand why your monitor might be lying to you about colors. IPS OLED TN panels. I explain them all in plain English. See you in the next one.